Alrighty, so this is what I expect going to hear. My brother just joined. May the fourth be with you as well. And yeah, then I had to say that this is for sure. So I'm going to say, see what I'm going to, and Kyber crystals to start streaming. And so that's what I'm going to do. Here you are. Oops. Hello, everyone. Hello. Hi. And welcome back to our live streaming on the first and the May the 4th. And yes, this is now it's Star Wars Day. And of course, and this is what I'm going to say is now, and I proved to be an all of the Star Wars, all those glorious and all those years since then. When another thing in the history about the Star Wars is, it was since of the 1977 when the scene about George Lucas was released in the first premiered on the 1977 of Star Wars, A New Hope. So we're just gonna have a drink for a moment. So this is what I'm going to say. This is May the 4th. Right now, I am going to settle. Right now, I am ready to for and going to do this in for my GWE will be officially delayed, and also the Hope of the Jedi will be released after Redeem of the Force will be released. So now we're going to the settle score to all of the from making in the Q&A from you're going to do that. And so yes, and also Star Wars The Phantom Menace is going back into the theaters across the countries to the theaters. So but there is there's no Phantom Menace movie in the theater in this area because well, I wanted to trust in it for all the thinking time too, and the thinking is why. And we're gonna have to tell it with, and I am very very happy for all of what they have to all the way up high. What the all Star Wars fans and all that they see it. We're gonna see the Star Wars, the Acolytes will be started on June. And it's gonna be a lot of fun to watch it at Disney Plus. All I can say is now I can tell you about right now. And if you already seen the Tales of the Empire, I no idea. I had no idea what to describing what all the thing the Disney fan hates and doesn't even existed. But at a time short period about all the fan hate over decades, there's a reason. Who knows? And so I am going to say I have rather to chance to get the Star Wars The Bad Batch. But I will say this now. I'm going willing to watch. And I'm going to say is now, we don't want to think of what's going on to the Star Wars, all the people, to everyone. Let's see here. Hold on. Just a few. All right, so I can say this now. I had to prove what is known. I think in detail, and so this is what I say. That I'm because me, my mom, and my cousin went into on the Disneyland last year's of the in California. Because I had to say this now. I first ever on my experience in the Disneyland went to see Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, and because I have the Peace and Justice lightsaber hilt, which is I have the one to use. But more importantly, I'm gonna have to tell you about the all times. And so Cole just joined, and may the fourth be with you as always. Oh heck yeah, that is. So yeah, we're gonna talk into the Star Wars Day. The Star Wars is going to have to say this about the whole years in the on back in the 1970s when the George Lucas has had created made ideas for the, on making that the science fictions, a sci-fi, and a space opera, and some old liken to say of the first ever of Star Wars in on summertime, and it comes to what I have to say is now when TNW invasion is on. Oh yes, I cannot wait to see the TNW invasion for the bloodline will destroy. Because of that being said, TNW, ACW, HWF, and GWE will take out the bloodline for that. For Roman Reigns, The Rock, Jimmy Uso, Solo Sikoa, Tama Tonga, and also there was the newest member of the bloodline who was helping out by Tama Tonga's brother was Tanga Luoa. I was like, what? A newest member of the bloodline? Are you kidding me? He helped out by. I know they think saw that coming, and that is true. But I don't know what to say than the black backlash in Paris because of that, and there is no sign. It's true. No one saw that coming as well. But there is no sign that Jacob Fatu wasn't in WWE, but the WWE developed about Jacob Fatu will be debuted as a new member of the bloodline or helping out for Jay Uso to take revenge to Jimmy. And I can say this now that I can anything more clear too. And so yeah, we're not gonna sell a score too. So I was just saying, the Star Wars is on the first release in all the 1977 when George Lucas has also directed and also did the screenwrites and everything to do that for all these insane the years now. But I don't think that George Lucas was a father to me in that way. But more importantly, I can have to tell you the only way thinking into what I was supposed to say. This is about how many people have been released. So that being said, The Empire Strikes Back has released in 1980. But only one thing. Sorry about that, folks. And then to see on the how the Captain America, the first adventure, this is on in the TV. But I really know thinking to say this now when The Empire Strikes Back, for all we need to say is now I can approve to. After the New Hope, The Empire Strikes Back is officially released because George Lucas didn't know what he expected. He was an injury, but only need to tell because it was directed by Irving Kershner. That is what it said. And no, that is true. If a Mortal Kombat and SmackDown and before the Backlash, well, what we're going to have to find out soon is later. I appreciate that. So I would get to say is now what I'm going to do. What I need to say is now. What I'm going to say is when I did the first and fight of lightsaber fight with the Luke Skywalker and the Darth Vader, father versus son. When I had to know this now, just like on the Obi-Wan versus Darth Vader in the Death Star. But I know what the thing is and how that Luke had and Darth Vader just had been sliced through on the Luke's hand. And to one of the audience known taking this serious, how shock and reaction about Obi-Wan killed your father. But Luke had no better than to stir in a hole and to know that he killed Obi-Wan. About it, killed his father because of Vader knew it better. The script has changed, and Darth Vader has stoically had revealed his truth and says to Luke, "No, I am your father." And they all say the audience and all the home around the world it was shocking about that. Finds out that Luke was the son of Anakin Skywalker and was true. You're like, no, no, that's not true. That's impossible. Yeah, I don't think it is saying one thing. And so this is what I need to say. What I have brought this for me. It's my good buddy Chewie. My furry. He's my hero. Yeah, so I bought the Chewbacca for one of my years ago. So I am to tell you, and I'm going to tell what the people and something like that. Thanks, Cole. I know the thinking about the Chewbacca. Got this in my in a Walmart years ago. I am one of the gotten the Chewbacca for only thing is. So we're gonna think an announcement for Cole's making a new films and the 412 films that would be calling into a Chewbacca the Lost in Vegas. That would be incredible how Chewbacca got into himself into the black hole into the multiverse, trapped into the Las Vegas. So that should be fun for that. And so now I can't do it in a Chewbacca's voice. Oh gosh. Yeah, that would be great. So as I was saying, The Return of the Jedi will be released in 1983, the following of the Empire Strikes Back. So that the Luke Skywalker becomes to be as a Jedi Knight to help the rescue from his friends of Princess Leia, Han Solo, Lando, Chewie, and some others too, and a place in the Tatooine to fight all some bad all the games with all some Jabba the Hutt. Well, unfortunately, I'm always seeing that the really is today because I was watching the first Star Wars original trilogy that I was a kid. Because I had to say this now, I very likely how I got into because of that being, you know, that how they got the into all around the world the audience into the seeing the episode 6 it's been released. So what I'm gonna do, and I really love that scene is so cool about the father versus son number 2 in the Death Star the second, where it take place in the Emperor Palpatine's throne room, was a known Darth Sidious. Call 412. You just arrived. Your arrogance blinds you, 412. Now you're gonna experience her full power of the dark side. That was a. Oh my gosh. I'm not gonna do anything to the body just to say that of the Palpatine's voice. Sorry, Cole. I didn't mean to do that. But I have willing to say this now. And so and oh yeah, it's all right though. After that, the Luke just cut into Darth Vader's right hand to revenge from him Luke's hand, who had in the pointing his lightsaber right at Vader because of how that Palpatine have impressed to Luke to taking the place by his side to the Darth Vader to destroy him because another thing to said because of that Luke just throw his lightsaber defiance to he's never turned to the dark side to stay the light side was the Jedi, like his father before him, side by side. How Vader get his redemption to turn the light side will he become? So be it, Jedi. So, thing is why I am more thing to say about how that Vader was stood side by side with Palpatine, but he had no thing to see how Vader get his back into redemption, turn into the light side after Emperor torturing to Luke Skywalker the Force lightning, and he lifted up, and then he comes to a Force lightning on Vader to a life support system damaged, and he throws into the abyss, into the fell. And thanks to the Anakin Skywalker himself. But talking about the not expected, and then episode 9, somehow Palpatine returns. That makes sense of that. So, how did they know the thing to say that about that? How Luke was helped him to into the shuttle to escape from the Death Star after the shield is down, so that we in the time, willing to say how did that the Vader to tell Luke and take his mask off to revealing to his father's eyes, so that he revealing to he has the blue eyes of Luke of Anakin Skywalker to tell him to leave his father, but Luke denies to come with him. He's going to save, but Anakin has already have, because he was right about him. Because of that, Luke was right about him to tell his sis Leia to were right. And so that how that the audience had got tears and then whipping how then Anakin dies to his redemption himself. And so that happens. Luke can never leave him. So that the only thing to say this only happens to where it was. Because of that, the only thing away Vader got him always and burned it himself. Luke came into the burn to his father up into the funeral pyre till they became one of the force in him to know. So that I only think of one in the audience and the scene about how the Anakin's first Force ghost stand side by side with Yoda and Obi-Wan was the only thing is Sebastian Shaw was the old Anakin Skywalker for the first time. But here's the problem. Because of the released in the DVD in 2004. Because one thing to say is how the Hayden Christensen was at first Anakin Skywalker into the Force Ghost. Like how the audience had never saw that coming, or what they think it had what the actor become of controversy after Revenge of the Sith was released. And so the one thing to say is about the thing is now. That is true. one of the best, the original trilogy in history, all the classics. And so, ever since in the 1990s, George Lucas had an ideas to make a new one of the prequels of Star Wars, which is in episode one, was called The Phantom Menace. George having a very great ideas how many already got into waiting of the first of the Star Wars writing script. There's a whole lot of crews and a whole lot of the all the producers, and then assistant directors, and so much more. And to think honest, with so many people ways, and then I can do without all of George Lucas was good ideas to making a new Star Wars film for the prequels to start it ever and never known. The Star Wars Phantom Menace is a release in the 1999 for the following into the Star Wars A New Hope. I think it's saying this that Liam Neeson was Qui-Gon Jinn, was a Jedi Master and the Padawan of Obi-Wan Kenobi. Ewan McGregor was playing it. And also Jake Lloyd was a young Anakin Skywalker. And some other ways, and it don't go into that about a bunch of the audience to ever seen about them thinking is what they saw? Jar Jar Binks. I didn't know the thing to send a bunch of whole audience and be like, what in the world was that thing? Is that Jar Jar? What? Jar Jar Banks in a Star Wars? What? They know that they expected into what they else to see it. For all that they one of the who played or was the Jar Jar Binks, who was the play, and somehow who wasn't it to be play was at his best one of the greatest performances in never all to see who played the Jar Jar Binks and whoever all the bunch of hates. And so when he came back into the Star Wars, he wasn't all the thing in Star Wars who would play the character who it was now. And somehow to see who was one of the Star Wars who was played into. But the reason why, who knows? And I had to say this now. It was a who played in that. Heaven best was a Jedi Master, Kelleran Beck. Is from on the Star Wars Jedi Temple Challenge and The Mandalorian. But the only thing is, one of the best who played as far. So to see who was the fight against the Sith Lord himself, the two Jedis who were fighting into the Naboo place was Ray Park, Darth Maul. So, does Ash Ketchum and Astro Boy have a few questions about me for the Star Wars days? What I was thinking to tell you with? So, after the battle of the lightsaber duels, because the Qui-Gon Jinn has been impaled the Qui-Gon, as Obi-Wan is shockingly or horrifying of the Master's death to take the revenge, the becoming and the great of Jedi to take revenge to Darth Maul. And some point, one of the scene about how the most faster version about this to prove into. And well, that was a good question, Ash. I would say is Japan will get a rematch for light heavyweight title, or something else. Might be a Judgment Day for sure. It's okay, Astro. It's all good. And so you can take in so Astro, you can take in the Star Wars questions if you want to. As I was saying, Obi-Wan and Darth Maul having the first lightsaber duels are how the faster on the version of the original trilogy that is. So this is how it looks and should look is so very incredible fight. And see how the Darth Maul force pushed into the Obi-Wan into the all the way in a few meters in the hall. He managed to hang on, and so that Maul kicked his lightsaber into the hole. And so the thing to say is now in for Star Wars, what is the best Star Wars film of all time? Your book. In my book, that's a good question. I would say it is now about my original trilogy of Star Wars Chapter 1 to Chapter 3 is one of the best the old generation era to see how the Revan Skywalker adventures to stop all the Sith and the First Order to restore to the resistance and peace of the galaxy to all the way up. And this is what it is. So that they to fight against his bastard sister Valen herself, brother versus sister, to take it all the way up, the Jedi versus Sith, into all the way the places to be and what the places to be. So that in chapter 3, the fighting between the Valen versus Revan Skywalker to the lightsaber fight in the Revan 4 in the Jedi Temple. And so that it goes to really, really how to get the series. And so it could turn into to peace and purpose. As Revan returned to his home in the Hyrule, in the castle, by his wife, Princess Zelda, or should I say Queen. So, as I was saying, and then Obi-Wan managed to hang on so that he jumped into the grabbed Qui-Gon's lightsaber to slice Darth Maul in half, and he falls down and goes to see how his body goes to cut his half and it goes. Oh my god! I noticed and did not see that coming. Because in the scene that how Qui-Gon to make his promise to Obi-Wan Kenobi to train Anakin Skywalker, but then he said, he's the chosen one. He will bring balance. Train him. And soon he dies. Because I'm thinking and say, it's so sad that how Qui-Gon didn't survive from the Phantom Menace. He should be into what if Qui-Gon survived to Darth Maul, to the Naboo, and joining into the Clone Wars, Attack of the Clones to be. So now on to good question, Ash. The GWE episodes will be as soon as later on my birthday, July 13th. It's on my birthday! Yay! But as I was saying, Obi-Wan to tell Yoda to believe Qui-Gon how the Yoda to has never less to never be and then the fear to Anakin's training they didn't know to expect as Obi-Wan convinced Master Yoda I gave Qui-Gon the word. I will train Anakin. So yes, that is what the Yoda knows to sense defiance to the grief and the Jedi Council for the Skywalker as an apprentice. He will. And so Ash, you can take it as Star Wars questions if you like. So that in everything to see on the Naboo taken into the funeral pyre until the Qui-Gon's funeral. He become one of the Force as a Force ghost. So that Anakin can tell them Obi-Wan to what happened. And so that Obi-Wan the counsel from the trains. He will become the Jedi that he promised to see how they know what it is. So that at the end of the Phantom Menace, George has a new film of the called Attack of the Clones, released in 2002. And if you say this and see the one in the following of the Phantom Menace, what was my best lightsaber fight in my mind? Good question, Ash. A lightsaber fight? Well, I can take it into what I think it is. Who can? Who's your guest? What do you think, Ash? Valen. Yeah, Valen it is. So that a Revan versus Valen, the lightsaber fight will be a take in all the original trilogy and the chapter 4th of the A New Republic to see how that Revan Skywalker fights against the some imposter of Revan Skywalker was Darth Revan. The one of the first lightsaber fighter who I created in my mind and I created myself into. Because to say is this is so incredible lightsaber fight I had known. So yes, that's what it is, Ash. Revan versus Valen, the lightsaber fight. That is. So, so the Attack of the Clones was released in 2002. George Lucas had the very ideas of how they got into who played the Anakin Skywalker when he grows up was Hayden Christensen. To see how the audience were like, what? Hayden Christensen? Are you kidding me? To see how the hates and about this. To see how Hayden has returns to play Anakin Skywalker in the Obi-Wan series. Also the Ahsoka series. To see how the fans loved him. They cheered to come back. One of the I had to say this, Hayden is one of the best Anakin Skywalker where he played ever come back. And so that will be time into. True. That is wanted to say this and how that Obi-Wan and Anakin trained in and Anakin was a Padawan, and also the Obi-Wan's the Jedi Master, just like on the old Qui-Gon Jinn when the first the beginning. And so when I think it is. So Astro and Ash, if you want to know, take any questions about how the first and Star Wars trilogies, if you want to. And so I gotta take in it. All the one to say, went to visit of the Padme to see who was the trying to kill Padme. Wasn't it assassinate? But Anakin knew to find out who was trying to kill. Because then trying to investigate it to guard her from in place during it at night to see how to know the thing to say. Because Obi-Wan and Anakin sense the Force and seeing how the Padme's room in fully danger to get into of Sense 2, and he was a lightsaber, take out the poisonous worms by the assassin. Bounty hunter assassin was Zeb. And good question, Astro and Ash. The best part of episode 1 and episode 2, I would say, is Darth Maul versus Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon Jinn and the parts, so the lightsaber duels. And episode 2, I would say, is Anakin doesn't like sand. It's coarse and rough and irritating, and it gets everywhere. That is what it is said about Hayden Christensen. I don't like sand. It's coarse and rough and irritating, and it gets everywhere. Everything soft. And so that I know they're thinking about how Anakin and Obi-Wan trying to stop the assassins to see in the Coruscant to ride off like the version of Batmobile into the hoverboard mobile at some point. But I had to say is now that I can tell you only one thing, that Obi-Wan managed to hang on into riding on all the flying droid to see how the Zap sniped to firing of the droid, and Obi-Wan fell into the all the meter down to go, so that Anakin arrived to manage to hang on to the ride, and Obi-Wan shouted, "What took you so long?" So that about Anakin knows how to ride, to think and learn, and to find a swordsman, so that Anakin was losing his lightsaber to fell, and Obi-Wan catches it to see how it is, so that Anakin to give, so Obi-Wan give to Anakin to said, "Try not to lose it. This weapon is your life." So that is what it is now. I like the way better the fight of much to learn. You still can. I like that one. I like it only the rhymes and just that they call and like much to learn. You still have, or much to learn. You still can. I love that one. The Yoda impressions. I love that. I like another one to say is to see how the Anakin just in the lightsaber cut in half. And seeing how the line was, not again. Obi-Wan's gotta kill me. And the only one thing is to say that's true. So only could say this now is the fight between Obi-Wan and Anakin take on the Christopher Lee was Count Dooku, who wasn't in thinking to say is was a Count Dracula. And he plays Saruman the White, was in the Lord of the Rings trilogy and the Hobbit trilogy. The Hobbit, An Unexpected Journey, and the Battle of the Five Armies. Also, the Fellowship of the Ring, the Two Towers, and Return of the Kings were the first to begin. So, Christopher Lee was played Count Dooku when he was on the thing to fight between Anakin and Obi-Wan to see how Master Kenobi, you disappoint me. Yoda having a prestige. Surely you could get better. And so I had to just say this part enough because of that how that Count Dooku just sliced an Anakin's right arm. This is when he the first they became Darth Vader after all to take the revenge. And that's one of the best of a lightsaber fighter was Master Yoda. Master Yoda and Dooku, the lightsaber fighter between the Padawan and Master. Fought well you have, my old Padawan. This is just the beginning. I like that line. I love it. But I like the only one thing to say is Revenge of the Sith has been released in 2005. The one the best of the lightsaber fight and then on the lava planet was Anakin versus Obi-Wan Kenobi. Battle of Heroes. To say is how the audience and the goes cheering. And yes, the only one say is how the Anakin turned to the dark side becomes Lord Vader himself to serve as Darth Sidious. Because of that to say is now, because of the Obi-Wan landing into the platform to a high ground to see how Anakin jumped up, Obi-Wan just slicing his left arm and both legs to hear you were chosen one. How the audience got whimpered and cried, and to see how they were best friends because of the thing that Anakin became the enemy of Obi-Wan to hate him. To see the Obi-Wan were brother to love. And Anakin got burned himself, become a burned crispy. And he become to suffering the rest of his life. And now, and he becomes Darth Vader for the first time. So yes, that is it for my Star Wars Day questions. And now we're going to say this now about the GWE will be first delay will be on the take place in July. So yes, I'm going to do this stuff on the way that I need to do. And before that, Star Wars Hope of the Jedi will be start to release after the Redeem of the Force. So do you have any questions about the Hope of the Jedi were released? Do you have any questions? Feel free to go. And so you ever seen this Star Wars The Clone Wars and the movie just released? You should check out link in the description on the Disney Plus. And also there was Star Wars The Clone Wars and the TV series. Matt Lanter was Anakin Skywalker, was a General Skywalker from the Clone Wars, and Obi-Wan Kenobi who played was James Arnold Taylor, who is used on the A1 McGregor's Obi-Wan. And also the Anakin's Padawan, who was a Sky Guy, Ahsoka Tano. And so yes, this is what it to say. So feel free to go to an Hope of the Jedi release their questions if you want to. So Astro Cole, feel free to go. So one thing that I got to do how same true. True. You too. That will be have a lot of fun for how your wife Pan will be in it into the chapter 6. So that have a whole audience to see how their incredible reaction to see what it is. It's gonna be a lot of fun for. And same thing. What we're going to do is now is about how that we're gonna do on the documentary of the Cole had ideas of the Star Wars Redeem of the Force was a director by himself and a screenwriter by himself, just like I did. And he's gonna make it documentaries on how the Colt 412, Astro Boy, Ash Ketchum, also Sonic went into the GGP Productions headquarters to meet the GGP himself to make ideas to see how that Cole had written button in Star Wars Chapter 5 in his script. And so this is going to be a lot of fun to do it. Yup. That should be that one. Because I have to say is now I have very love ideas and the hope of the Jedi has been released since then. I was a Google document and all said and done for the chapter 6. But this is only to say it's a lot of fun to make. But there was also news about the there was a be at these WrestleMania 41 is going to taking place in Las Vegas, and oh my gosh, I can't believe it that Cole is going to be there to see him live on the screen on TV. But I can't do the one when he is when going to see it in the live audience. But I can do to what had to be that way and been known because me, my mom, and my went there on the Los Angeles weekend in to see SoFi Stadium at WrestleMania 39, but I can't do what it is now. To see it as likely. In your home, that right. That is your home. So he cannot wait. So this is what I gotta do. What is like it I haven't going to do, but if GGB going to Las Vegas weekend, I don't know because I have a very separate to do stuff, and this is what it is now. And but I cannot to say. Who knows? I'm not gonna watch it for Las Vegas or WrestleMania on TV next year. So this is gonna be fun. And so, do you have any 3 more questions before the end of this video on live streaming? So that this is what it is now. Well, talk about it. Talk about it. No crickets. Just have a blow in the wind. Like, well, more and more blow in the wind. I love blow of the wind. Okay. So so what I think to say is now and two. We'll go into questions. Good question. And when it comes to GWE after everything was set done for Redeem of the Force before they started into, and so we're gonna set a score to on the to Mortal Kombat episode 2, SmackDown episode 2, and also the Backlash episode 2 for the pay-per-view to see how the big debuted superstar to come in. So this is gonna be who it is after WrestleMania for like everyone else, or after TNW One Night Stand. Should be a lot of the shocking the debut what it is now, and so we all know that the King of the Ring will be continuing on the second round. The second round, that is, so that the Queen's Crown tournament is not continue to on the. It's not continuing to the for everything. It's gotta be had to take place on Monday Night Raw before the No Mercy, and I had no shirt about who is a gay person and after Backlash, cause I had never seen it. This is the thing of how GGB goes to have to research into his on the internet to what I think about it. But this is some point is now gonna have to say to who was the special that K person to see who was stalker of Kazumi to protecting the coal to taking it into. For the only few ways to see who it is, and yeah, that is true. Now, two more questions to go. So that will be the end of this video live for the Star Wars Day, GWE delay, and the hope of the Jedi release. And so this will be tomorrow, Revenge of the Sixth. Revenge of the Sixth, which is like a Revenge of the Sith. And everyone, please don't go to the dark path, to the dark side. This is a dangerous path. You will stay by the light. Do you have any more? Two more questions. Well, blow in the wind again. Blow, blow, and blow off the wind. Wow, those are good questions, Ash. And your wife will be in the next World Tag Team titles. Well, I would say They should be having next pay-per-view event and take place into the see the hounds of in your house, hounds of justice. Was it the shield? So yes, was the shield that is in the pay-per-view event. So that it could be taken that way. So there should be that Blake and Yan was a world tag team title defense. We could take it into all thing way up high. And so many how did they think the Usos was the longest tag team champions in the history in the books? To see how the Blake and Yen will be the longest reigning of the World Tag Team Championship in the history book between how the hard legacy stays grow for this. And so we'll see. We'll see. Good question, Astro. Your wife Jenny about the thinking to have to be championships of GWE. Well, typical. I got a very likely to say is now for the GWE Women's Championship for my wife. I don't know. That will be unlikely to an revealing of the first ever GWE Women's World Championship, likely known, commonly known, Women's World Heavyweight Champion. That would be amazing for how your wife Jenny will be first ever for your titles for this for right now. And also and also thinking that true though. And Astro, your wife also, you should be your wife should be in a part of a new filming of the Star Wars Chapter 7, The Twilight Awakened, which is how the good, very good on your ideas for that. What do you think, Astro? Good ideas? No, that is true. Yeah. So, do you have? All right. So, do you have one more questions to go? One more question before they wrap this up for the live stream. So, I would gonna put the kyber crystal back in. May the fourth be with you too, as always. May the fourth be with you as well, Astro. So, that should be interesting to how all the Star Wars Day, and that is all the wrapped up on the live streaming of the first on the live Q&A into the Star Wars days. GWE delay, and then the hope of the Jedi release will be taken to the schedule. So I had to say this now. This is going to take into at the end of life. As always, you should have post comments down below. What are you thinking about on the live streaming for on the May the 4th? Let me know if there is any more into the comment section into the for the Star Wars Day. I know tomorrow will be Revenge of the 6th. So click like button, click in the notification bell, and subscribe for more videos of all to see. And I'll see you all. And may the force be with you always.